So hey, how's it all going out there in YouTube land? Hope this video finds you safe and well and loving what you do and having a good time. Yeah, so what are we going to talk about today? I thought I'd do a bit of an overview on my 2x72 I got here, the beast that I came up with. And this is it, the prototype. I've got another one over there and almost finished, just needs a motor. So if you're thinking of making one or you want to know about this one that I make, then here it is. We'll get into it and get stuck in. So how did it all start? Yeah, well, I got some plans offline. I think it was from something Generation 2. Brilliant design, if you want to have a look at that online. Great machine, but yeah, as with most things in my life, I ran out of money, so I sold it. So then I needed another one to carry on with my little knife making in my garage here. So I had a few offcuts and scavenged up a few bits and pieces and thought, yeah, well, I'll put one together, change things out a little bit to make it sort of my own personal thing. And here it is. I probably went about it all backwards because after I started putting this one together and almost had it finished, I went back online and found the old Brian House, or House Made I think it is, or House Works, but yeah, have a look at that. It's only me talking, but yeah, he does some really good work, and my opinion, and it's only me speaking, like I said, he would have to be the guru of 2x72s as far as I'm concerned. I've never met the guy and I don't know him at all, but yeah, I definitely, if you live in the Northern Hemisphere, then yeah, would I have gone and bought his designs? If I'd have known about them when I started, yeah, definitely would have. Would I have bought a brand new one? If I could have afforded it, yeah, definitely would have, but I couldn't and I didn't. So this is it. This is what I've come up with, and absolutely love it. So I'll give you a bit of a review. Naturally, it'll be a little bit biased because this is what I make. I will be honest. There are a few issues with this prototype, which we'll go over as we get into it. And yeah, if I'm nothing else, I'm honest, or so people say. So anyway, without any more jibber jabber from me, we'll get stuck into it and we'll have a closer look. And yeah, so rightio, let's have a closer look at the parts, the bits and pieces, and have a look at what's going on. I will be changing from the prototype that I built here over to the second one that I built. As with most things that you do with prototyping, you need to make one, use it, and find out what's going wrong and fix it in future models. So that's what I've done. So again, we'll start with the base. You can see here how I've used the flat bar on the bottom there. Yeah, it works good. There's no problem. Well, there is a problem with it. It's the first little issue that I will bring up. What it means is these are independent and they can move, and if I don't get that table 100% square, level and all the rest of it, then these will interfere with the pivoting on that thing, and you have to shim it up and muck around a little bit with it. So I thought I'd improve that. If we look at this one here, and what I've gone to is a flat base. A flat base of 6mm plate, and so then I can get these legs square and level and they will stay in that position. If the table or your workbench you're mounting it on is a little bit out, it's staunch enough to accommodate it and it won't affect the pivoting of the machine at all. So that's a good thing. I've changed that. You will also note on these legs, if I move that into the camera, let's get that there, down a little closer, you will note that I have slotted underneath here. The reason for that is there's a lot of dust with a 2x72 and it accumulates in the legs and I can just blow it out through there. Is it necessary? Don't know, but it's a feature that I like, that I put on my machines from now on. So that's the base. So what are the legs? Let's have a look, reach over, find a tape measure. The legs are, you probably can't see that, but they're 270 high. They're 50 by 50 box section with a 5mm wall. And the reason for the 5mm wall is that I can, where I fit the grab handles and so forth, is I can drill straight through there and tap it out, and I don't need to weld nuts on and stuff like that. So that's what I do. So those are the legs, and they're subtly shaped on the end to allow for the pivoting, which you'll see a little bit later in the video. So that's the base, pretty simple construction there, nothing really too amazing. Again, I've put a little bit of weld around here. I haven't welded right around. You will get distortion in your plate, but it's easy enough to just knock it out and get it nice and flat. And so that's what we've done. So that's all good. So from there, what do we do? And that's, I'm not going to make one for you at this stage, but that's how I do. I start with the base, I make the legs, mount them on there, and then I move to the main frame. So from here we'll go and have a little bit of a look at the main frame. This here being a main frame as well on the prototype. If I can get that in the picture, if I can see the picture. So yeah, there we are, there it is. So the main frame is just 2 bits of 50 by 50 by 5 again. I'm not sure what that is imperial, it's 2 inch by something, but 50 by 50 by 5 gives you 40 mil on the inside, so your tooling arms can just go in there. You do have to remove the weld on the inside, the seam weld, which is a bit of an issue. It's a mission, to be fair, but I've sorted my processes out there, so if you want me to go over that in a future video, just let me know in the comments and we'll do so. So all it is 2 bits of that box section, 330 long for my one here, and we just put 4 stitch welds on both sides, one there, there, there and there, and that just holds that together. The bottom one here has a grab handle to hold in the work table tooling arm, and the top has a grab handle to hold in the platen. What you don't want to do, and I may say it again and again, is you do not want to over weld anything. You do not want these shrinking too much with distortion, because if you get that 40 by 40 bound in here while you're making it, it is very, very difficult to get it out. You can trust me on that, because I tried to cut corners and do things wrong and it didn't work. So like I say, I've got my processes sorted now and that doesn't happen anymore. But just be aware, don't over weld. Distortion is a big thing when you're engineering and welding stuff. So that's that part there. So from here we'll take a closer look at the one off the other one, at the mounting by brackets. So like I was saying, you've got your main frames here, this is the other side of it naturally, and I've got 4 mounting brackets on here which are 100 by 10 flat bar. So only 4 of them in the right position. Again, if you can see that in the video close enough, each one of these has only got 1, 2, 3 stitch welds on one side, just again to stop distortion. And so that's what I do, and they've got a 12mm bolt going in there. So it's pretty simple really. As with everything I do, which is sort of my motto, keep it simple and effective. I want it to work. Having said that, I want it to be robust as well. I want it to be sturdy. I want it to be up to industrial standards. I like to work hard and I expect my machinery to keep up with me, and this machine definitely does that. The first prototype one you see, and you'll see more of, I've been using it for over a year, and yeah, it's never had a real problem with it. It functions really well, and that's what I want. I want stuff to keep going. So this is what I've done. So that's your mounting. So we'll mount that onto the other one there. I'll put that back on and we'll have a look at how that tilts and everything else. So that was a little bit of a speed up, I think. Just chucking that on. She's a little bit sticky because the paint sort of takes up the clearance, but no, it works pretty good. What I use in the front here, I think it's a 10mm grab handle. You'll note from the prototype that I've changed up to these ones here due to the fact they got an Allen key screw in there, which makes things a little bit better. So we'll just stick that in there if we can. Note also too, I might have said, I might not have said, that everything I've got is custom made, pretty much made by hand. I will in the future, if I make many more of these, is move to laser cutting. At the moment it's all done by 5-inch cut-offs, the 2x72s and files. So she's handmade. That being the case, I filed out that slot in there, and that's the pivot. So it goes through the 90, it goes over 90 actually. One day I may put some stops on there to stop that happening, but at the moment it's not an issue for me really, it's just how it rolls. Slightly, it's pretty good though. Doesn't make an issue when you're using it, because when you put your tooling arms in, they naturally will stay 90 degrees to the actual machine, whether the table's 90 or not. What I do, which you may have seen in other videos, put a level on it, get it level to the table, and then cinch it up. So that's how she mounts together. Simple and easy enough so far. Like I say, I like to keep things simple, but they need to be effective, and this definitely is. It works very well. So from there, I think what we'll do, we'll have a look at the platen and go from there. So that's the platen design I came up with. Easy enough, and we'll go over it in a little bit more detail. It's just got a 40x40, as you can see, your box section tooling arm on it. Lost the tape measure. How long is my one? Give me a second. Yeah, we're looking at 400 for those, it's standard what I use. What I do, I've put that in there, and you'll note for normal 2x72 belts I've got a painted mark on there, so I just slide that into there, and Bob's your uncle. Yep. The actual platen on it is just simply, and I'll go over those in a bit more detail as well. I'm pretty sure that's just, actually it's 270 by 50 mil, and it's a bit of 10 mil flat bar. I just surface ground those up if I've got access to a surface grinder, or I just use it on my other 2x72. As long as it's reasonably flat, and it works pretty well. In here, what I've also done is it can tilt that way. Honestly never used it, but it's a good feature to have, and it tilts back that way. And yeah, that's that. So that's all good. It's just got a 12mm bolt on the front. You can see that 12mm bolt running through there, and yeah, works pretty good. That's what it is. Plus your spacer. You've naturally got to have a spacer in here. What you need to do when you're making one of these machines is you need to have all these wheels lining up, the centres running through good. So I've got two 2-inch contact wheels on it. You can see the top one there with the bearings in there. I used to make those myself, but they tended to be not so good, so I get them professionally made. They're just aluminium, and I haven't had a problem with them now. So that's all pretty cool. Not a lot else to say about the old platen, but there it is. What I will go over is what I do and have done. I've made some different type of platen accessories. Anything else you want to know about them, again, just ask me in the comments and I'll let you know. So let's have just a quick wee look at our accessories for the platen, and then we'll move on to something else. So yeah, back to the old prototype. We'll stick this one in. Same deal on there with the paint mark. That's pretty good for, well, it's exactly where I need it to be for a standard 2x72 belt. So very similar platen system here. What I have also done is I put these grab handles in here. I'm not sure if that's a good idea or not. These little grab handles. So what I can do, oh, I've got it stuck now. I can just undo the grab handles. If I can, yep. And the platen comes off, so easy enough. In hindsight, using the grab handles in there, It's not really necessary, to be fair. It's not as easy to take off and on as I thought. It is a lot easier just to have kept what I had originally, which would be two 8mm bolts, and just have a dedicated spanner for taking off the plattens. The concept is really good. The grab handles, not really necessary for the cost of them. You just 8mm bolts would have been better. But there we go. So here we are. So what I have done is made up a few other plattens. This one here, if you're looking at the carpet on the ground before, I've just cut. Same platen design, same platen backing. I've just cut a piece of carpet. And what I do with that is I run a J-Flex belt on it. And that gives me enough flexibility in there for a convex grind. So lining up the little washers, and you can just put them on there. Do the grab handles up again. Again, like I say, grab handles a bit fiddly, but whatever, but you get the point. And then I've got another platen on there, and I can interchange them. It's a lot easier than anything else. It's good. I like it. Another platen that I have made up for hollow grinds, which I haven't used a heck of a lot, is just this one here. I've just rolled up some 6mm flat bar and welded it onto another bit of 6mm flat bar, really. And that concept of that is for hollow grinds. The only problem with that is it is in contact with the belt all the time. It's sliding over it, literally. And it does tend to heat up, so you need a variable speed VFD. But yeah, it works, so that's good. So that's the basics of the platen. Like I said, if you've got any questions about it, just ask me. This one's the same, it adjusts. I've never done that, but I've never used it like that, but yeah, adjusts like that. The idea of that was to do bevel grinds on a jig thing, but I've never got around to it, and I'll explain all that later on. So yeah, okay, from there, let's move on to our work tables. Just one more point on the old removable plattens. If I can get that to work before the battery goes flat on the camera. Yeah, just take it out. What I've used on the inside there, I just bolted that on with some slotted angle iron. And if you ever want to buy my drawings, which I'll do for a pretty reasonable price, they're just PDFs and rough enough to get you going anyway. And it slots, so it moves both ways, moves that way and moves in and out. So what you've got to do is just put that in there. If you're new to this sort of thing, and I just line it up with a ruler, straight edge, sometimes a level, whatever I got, like that, and crank it down, and she's all good to go again. The platen is just mild steel. You can use hardened steel. I personally have never had an issue with this in the year I've been using it. I may do a hardened steel one out of spring steel one day. That was always the idea. And you can put glass platen ones on and all sorts of stuff. I don't know if it's an advantage, it probably is, or people wouldn't bother doing it. But yeah, all projects for the future, I guess. So yeah, what was I saying? Let's move on to the tooling, not the tooling arms, let's move on to the work rest. So like I said, now we're going to look at the work rest, the table as such. So again, 400 length of 40 by 40. Black mark on this doesn't actually mean anything, but because it goes all over the place. But anyway, so I've got adjustment in there. Another grab handle works good. Goes to around about 45. Also handmade, so yeah, good thing. So that goes in there. Like so. Locks up with the grab handle underneath, and it's all good. This is where I did come into always a bit of an issue, but we'll talk about that in a second. Work table fits in there. It's adjustable up and down, and easy enough. There we go. So that's all good. That's the basics of that. So we'll take that out and we'll just have a quick look. Might move that camera around the front. Take that one out. We'll put the platen back in. There we go. That's in place. So if you're new to making these things, or you're like me and you didn't really have a clue what you're doing, we'll get a little bit of a closer in on that there. The problem is you'll look and you'll see, I'll just adjust that a little bit better on the top one there. I've got the bolt, try and focus that. There we go. I've got the bolt going through this way, so the nut's on that side. because the wheel is turning that way, so it bolts through that there. These here, yeah, pretty good, never loosens up. If you look on the bottom, and it'll be the same on the tracking mechanism, and anything where I've got a bolt coming through the bottom and sticking out this way, these will ultimately loosen up even if they're nylocks. So you can see on there what I've had to do to remedy that problem, and we'll talk about the clearance in here in just a second, but to remedy that problem what I've had to do is put on an extra nut and just do a locking nut type system in there. So is it ideal? No, probably not, but that works. I usually use half nuts now, or cinch nuts, or whatever people call them, but this is just what I had at the time, so that's what I've used, and that works pretty good. So you need to be careful if you're doing them sticking out this way, just make sure your nuts don't come loose. So if we move around to here, moving, I'll just adjust the camera so you can see that a little bit better. Oh, where are we? We're lost. Right, let's work with that, that'll do. So we put the tooling arm in. And as you can see, on this one here, I've had a bit of an issue with the clearance. I'll see if I can zoom right in on that. There. An issue with the clearance in here is really no clearance at all. What I've done on this prototype is down here, I've actually cut the head off the bolt and welded it in, which is not really what I wanted to do, but that's how I had it to make it work. So we've got an issue with those things in there. The clearance is not really ideal. When I tilt that down, again, it won't go in far enough. So that was probably the major issue with the whole thing, to be fair. The idea is to put the tooling table, the work rest table in here, like so. Push it into the machine, if it'll go. Get it right there. So it'll go right in now when this is 90 degrees or in that position. But when we do our adjustment of the platen, you can see how I've got problems. If you can see that clearly, I've got problems. This is down on the wheel, which is not ideal. So ideally, what you do is lift that table up and push it in. It still seems to be working, not too bad there because I've made a few adjustments. But tighten it up, tighten that up. Yeah, so we're getting way down on that platen. It's not ideal. I will make bigger table for this prototype one so I get further up here. But yeah, that's just the major issue that I did have is the clearance and around here. I wanted ideally to have the bolts going through and nuts on that side, but it didn't work out for that one. So if we move over now, we'll just have a look at the other one I made and see how I've tried to improve that a little bit. So if you can see that clear enough in the video, let's move in a little bit. What I've done is this bolt down the bottom, take that off. You can see how I've still got it going through the other way with a half nut on here. I know I've still got the head of the bolt, which should make it stronger. The locking nuts on there make it work pretty good, and so that's not an issue either. When we put the tooling arm in the bottom, we'll take a rest. You can see, if that's clear, I've got full travel. It goes in as far as I want it to go. When I put a work table on it and tilt that down, I've still got full clearance. Nothing's hitting on anything, so I've improved that situation. So that's what I've done, that's a modification. So that was the second issue I had, apart from other things, but yeah, that was the second issue I had, and that's how I've remedied it. So the work table is pretty simple construction. It's just, again, a 40 by 40, let's get it in the video, 40 by 40 box, and I've put stitch welds, just 4 on each corner. Again, that will distort. That is 6mm mild steel again. Yes, it is 6mm mild steel. How big do I make my table? Let's have a look. 150 by 330. Of course, you can make that table whatever you want to make it. And in the future, I probably will make a few different variations on that. But just fits into there, like I said, goes up and down, and away you go. So there's really not a lot to that. It's easy enough, but yeah, those are the issues I had, and I've remedied them on the new one. So that goes in there, slides up to your machine. Not with that button, it doesn't. And goes up to there, and yeah, good as gold. What you do need to do, if you are new to making these and whatever you do, because everything's adjustable and moves, the bottom moves, the top moves, I need to get a square, and just square it up to the platen before I use it. Let's have a look at a sideways view. So yeah, everything's adjustable, everything's movable, which is good. You just need to be careful of that. So I'll just line that up, move that around or whatever you got to do, and away you go. You get the essence. So yeah, that's one thing you do have to do, so that's all good. So that's the work table. Again, if you want to know anything else about what I do and how I do it, then just let me know and I'll get on to you with that. So the platen, the work table, the base, the main frame, we're moving on with what we've got here. Now we'll move to how I fix the tracking mechanism. So with regards to my tracking mechanism, and I've got another video on the YouTube about in more detail about what I do with that there. It's mounted just on the machine, again, to line up all the wheels. That's 40 by 40 box section. You can see a weld around there because like I've said, I've scavenged up the bits to make the prototype, and there it is. It's dual axle, so this wheel comes out on that, and again, look at my little video on it and you'll see that it goes this way as well. For tracking now, all I ever do is I use this little top one, very minimal movement, and it works really, really good. I'm running a 4-inch contact wheel on here, again with the lock nuts there because it does come loose. It's crowned, this one's slightly over crowned, but now I get them made a little bit better, so that's all good with those. 4 inch is good enough for me, and that's what I use. So yeah, not a lot else to say about that. If you want to know more, look at my little video and that covers it in a lot more detail. Actually, having said that, we'll have a bit more of a close-up view of it. There it is there. I've got a handle on the front. Other design I made another time, I used a spring on the back. Oh, that's not the back. There on the back, I've gone to a gas strut here. It works pretty well. The table's moving, but never mind. So that's an improvement as well. That's pretty good. You can also see in here when developing this, here I use angle iron now. A few welds in there as I put it together and what I've done. Normally 2x72s use this here to use your tracking, but what I've done is added in this top piece. So this revolves and moves, and that's all I use now for tracking it. And it works really, really good. It's not a problem, it all works great. So that's the tracking. And from there, of course, we'll move on to the motor and what I do with that. So for the motor, what I'm running is a CMG. Don't really know, it's just a brand, a CMG, and I'm using a 3 horsepower, 3-phase motor on this one here. Yeah, do you need a 3 horsepower? No, I usually would run a 2 horsepower. They reckon you need a horsepower per inch of belt. But at the time I made this machine, I couldn't buy what I wanted, and that's all I could get. It's a really good motor. You will note up here, if you can look in close enough, that there's a weld through there. Courier company, which shall remain nameless, actually dropped the package and that broke off. I needed it to use, so I welded that up, and I haven't had a problem either. You'll also note that I'm foot mounting them. Some grinder designs will have a flange mount. I have never had a problem with the foot mount. The only thing I will say is, if we can get in there close enough, I don't know if we can, we can't. If we get in there close enough, I'll weld around 3 sides of this here foot plate, but I don't weld down in there to stop that foot plate bending and going crazy. You'll also note there's a bit of welding on the back of that one, because I designed it off the other motor. I didn't realise there's different motors, foot mounting sizes. I should have noted, I should have done my research, but I didn't. Like I said, most of the research I did for this job I did after the fact, which is probably not the right way to do it. But however, so on the later models I make, I will have 2 options. This one was done, I've welded some tags on here for this. So I'll have the 2 options, so you could run a 2 horsepower or a 3 horsepower, entirely up to yourself, do whatever you want to do. A really good motor, sealed motor, naturally, so it doesn't get all the dust, crap and corruption in it. And it works, yeah, really good. Never had an issue with that one, that's great. What do I drive the belt with? Let's roll this around again and have a look. Ah, we go, there we are. So what I'm running on here is a 5-inch drive wheel. I looked at making my own, but for the price of this, I could import it from the US for cheaper than I could buy the stock material for it here and get it made. So that's what I've done. I bought this from off of eBay. It originally was made by knifegrinderparts.com, and they make some pretty good gear. The only issue I would have with knifegrinderparts.com, and it could be my problem or my fault, is I would have sent 6 or 7 emails to them and they never answered me. Of course, if you live in the US, you've probably got more chance of getting answered, but I don't. When you're looking at making one of these machines down here in the bottom of the world, don't really have a lot of options. So there you go. But yeah, I would recommend that wheel there. Like I said, bought it off eBay, this one's used and abused, like I say, a year's worth of use, and it still pretty much looks brand new. It's excellent construction. They do make a good product, and I'm very, very happy with it, which is why I went back on eBay and bought another one for the other machine. So yeah, if you can, use those guys because they're good. Why they don't answer my emails, I don't know. It could be me. But never mind, that's another issue, another story. So that's my motor, 3 horsepower, 3 phase. So of course in my garage here I only have single phase power. So what I'm doing, roll that around again. So I'm running it off a VFD, and we'll roll that up so we can see the VFD. This is a cheap VFD from AliExpress. Second one I've had on a grinder, not on this grinder, the other one I sold. And if that'll focus, play the game. There we go, cheap VFD, and there it is. Inverter, VFD, settle down camera. Yep, that looks better. So that's a cheap VFD off AliExpress, and it's not sealed, and I probably should seal it in an ammunition case if I've got one spare. How long it's going to last, I don't know. Like I say, that one's been going over a year. Never had an issue. I won't try not to jinx it and speak too soon. The dust does get in it a bit. That's why I've mounted it up like that, off the side of the thing. You can pay a lot more for VFDs. I think that came in at about 200 New Zealand dollars, maybe a little bit more. Some of the others are retailing at about $1,000, which I don't have. So my theory is I can buy, I don't know, quite a few of those for $1,000. But yeah, it's pretty good. Forward and reverse, variable speed, like I said. There is a function, I'm not sure if it's in the VFD or what it's in, but if the belt grabs, if you're grinding away and the belt grabs, it will shut the system down. So that's a bit of a good safety feature. I'm not going to go into the wiring of it because there's plenty of things online about that. I'm not a sparky, and electricity can be a little bit dangerous if you don't know what you're doing, and I don't. So one thing I will say, if you do decide to wire one up, I think they're called capacitors inside the unit, and they do hold a lot of power after you switch them off, so they could bite you. So that's it, the motor and the VFD, and yeah, from here I think we'll have a look at some of the accessories I've made up for it. Yeah, just dropped the camera from a little bit of a height onto a concrete floor, so hopefully it's still going, otherwise it could be the end of the video. Yeah, moving on, let's go. Yeah, so one thing I really do like about this design and machine is all the accessories and so forth and so on you can put on there. It's relatively easy. Once you've made one, you can carry on, see something you like online and go make it. So what we got there is, as you can see before, and the versatility and the function of it. You turn it to 90 degrees sideways. You just put your tooling arm in and you turn your work table around. And you're off to go that way. What I will do and what I use that for a bit is I'll put a piece of angle line across here, especially when I'm doing little bits of wood. If you have a look at my video on making steak knives, you can see I put them in a box and pretty much stripping down the wood, as I'll clamp the angle line on one side and I'll slowly move it in and run stuff through there. I won't use that platen, but we'll get on to what I use in a minute. So that's a really good thing. I like that. To be honest, I don't use that too often, but I do use it. Put it back up straight. Not going to get it level and everything else, but there we go. So there's that. Take that out. Another accessory that I've got, and there's a huge variety of things you can do with them. I've got the minimal stuff, to be fair. I've got this here, 8-inch contact wheel. That'll go on the top, and that's what I use when I tip it sideways a lot of times for stripping the wood. Goes in there, easy enough. So you can run your 8-inch contact wheel. You can run bigger wheels, smaller wheels, whatever you want to do really. It's just a matter, you've got adjustment in the tooling arms. Adjustment, like I say, in the tooling arm. Hang on a minute. Let's get a better view. Adjustment in the tooling arm, so you've got allowance for different sizes and different things. So I'll just tweak that camera down a bit if it's still working. And the other thing I've got, and I've got a video on this as well, which explains it a lot better, is call it a surface grinding attachment. Your purist machinist would say it's not a surface grinder, but whatever it is, this is what it does. Fits in there, or doesn't fit in there. Yeah, it's quite a heavy unit. And so on and so forth. There we go. It's got a magnetic chuck on it. Gone too far. Magnetic chuck and an adjustment on here. Goes up and down. Use it with the 8-inch contact wheel and sort of works for getting stuff flat, surface grinding and all the rest. Like I say, I've got another video on that online, so if you're interested in that, just flick over and have a look at that one. So yeah, those are my accessories. What else have I got? Yep. Give me a wee second. So I've got another video as well on the small wheel attachment. And so you put that in there with a small wheel. Go and have a look at that if you want to know exactly what's going on with that. The small wheel's not on me right now, it's in there, but the small wheel goes in there. The system tilts sideways. Oh, that fell off. The system tilts a bit over sideways like that. You use the same tooling arm as you got for your work table. And I've just got another work table with a V in it which goes around the small wheel. Again, more detail on that in the other video. So those are a few things you can put on it, and there'll be more. I've got, which I cover in another video again, I've got a little different sort of a work table for doing my bevel grinding. So yeah, once again, anything else you want to know or you want me to do more detail on, just sing out and I'll do it for you. So that's that part of it. Bit of a brief overview just to give you an idea about the WyattLouisJane Mark 1 2x72 belt grinder. The other things I've got for it, naturally, I've made up the table. If we can get it in the right view for the camera. So I've got a table there. That's my designer table, which I find works really, really well for me. So yeah, that's my designer work table that I put it on. I've got a 6mm aluminium plate on here, which is really good for just putting stuff on there. You'll notice when I'm doing bevels and so forth that I put a bucket of water on there just to dump stuff in, so that's a really good thing. On the bottom there, it's got levelling casters, so it doesn't move around. You will note that the prototype over there is about 80mm or 90mm higher than that one. to be honest, the prototype is a little bit too high. It's not a good position, so I've remedied that with the new models, these ones here. Just drop that down a little bit, and it works a heck of a lot better, so I'm happy with that. So yeah, apart from that, there's not really much else to say that I can think of. Like I said, that's a brief overview of the WyattLouisJane 2x72 belt grinder. That's what I do, and that's how I make them. If you're, yeah. So there it is, and that's about all I've got to say on that one. You might notice in some of my other videos too, there's a dust collection unit I make underneath, but for now, I think we're going to wrap that up, and yeah, camera battery's going flat, the disc is full, and I dropped the camera. But anyway, these things happen, and we're moving on. So I hope you enjoyed that little overview of the WyattLouisJane Mark 1, the 2x72 that I build. And I also hope you're having a really great day and enjoying what you do in life. And if you're not, I hope you are in the future. So yeah, thank you for watching, and to all those beautiful people who have subscribed, that really helps me a lot. So thanks again, and yeah, take care of yourself.